Welcome to ENT student for discussion on ultrasound and radiological findings of other than papillary carcinoma of thyroid, that is follicular eraplastic, etc. etc.
Follicular cancer. These tumors, unlike papillary cancer, are usually solitary lesions. On ultrasound, these tumors may be iso or hypoechoic compared to adjacent normal thyroid. The margins may be ill-defined if there is extensive extracapsular invasion. There are no definite distinguishing features on imaging unless invasion into adjacent structure such as trachea or larynx can be identified. Vascular invasion may be seen. Lymphatic spread is uncommon, occurring in less than 8%. Distant metastatic spread to lung or bone is more commonly seen. These tumors also concentrate iodine and I-131 radical may be used to treat and follow up these tumors.
So as we know, papillary carcinoma is a different entity and follicular carcinoma is a different entity. So this is follicular, which we are discussing right now, which are commonly solitary. Of course, papillary, they occur as multiple lesions all over the thyroid gland. Follicular are solitary lesions. They occur as solo fellow, single fellow, but they are dangerous. Why? Because they can undergo extracapsular invasion. So in that situation, the margins are ill-defined. The margins are ill-defined if the extracapsular invasion is there. So if you take normal thyroid tissue like this, so when you take the follicular cancer, it can be isoechoic or hypoechoic. It is not equal to thyroid. So it is more lighter. So the rest of the thyroid seems to be like thicker. So that is more darker and this is more lighter, as you could see here. In the next picture we will be showing that. And no definite distinguishing features on imaging based on unless there is invasion. So invasion is primarily important, especially extracapsular invasion to adjacent tissues like trachea or larynx can be identified with this. And vascular invasion, this follicular spreads through hematogenous spread. As you know that, as we all know that hematogenous spreads through the blood vessels. So blood vessels only this follicular cancer spreads. So based on that only we will be identifying that. Lymphatic spread is uncommon. Papillary spreads with lymphatic, but follicular lymphatic spread is uncommon. As you know, it is only 8%. And especially lung and bone is very important. Distant metastasis to lung and to bone is very important. So lungs and bones are more commonly affected with this follicular carcinoma. These tumors also concentrate iodine 131, which may be used for treatment and follow-up of the tumor. So iodine 131 is helpful in the treatment and follow-up of these tumors. Treatment and follow-up of these tumors. So in this particular picture, as you could see, there is an invasion of the right side of the trachea. So this is the invasion of the right side of the trachea by follicular thyroid cancer. This is the invasion which you could find. So it is typically related to follicular cancer.
Recurrent disease. A rising serum thyroglobulin necessitates investigation of disease recurrence. Initial investigation is performed with a radioiodine scan, but tumor dedifferentiation may lead to decreased or lost iodine accumulating ability. FDG PET scan has emerged as the investigation of choice in patients with a negative radioiodine scan and raised thyroglobulin. Good anatomical imaging does, however, retain an important role since small volume recurrence may not be demonstrated by FDG PET scan.
So as you know, when the patient is operated for thyroid cancer, total thyroidectomy is done, what we are supposed to do regularly is serum thyroglobulin level. So thyroid tissue can be present all over the body anywhere, it secretes the thyroglobulin. It is the investigation of choice for disease recurrence. So disease recurrence is by means of thyroglobulin, serum thyroglobulin estimation. Serum thyroglobulin estimation, as we know that. Initial investigation is performed with radioiodine scan. So as you know, radioactive iodine scan, but tumor dedifferentiation may lead to decreased or lost iodine accumulating ability. So thyroid gland, it accumulates the iodide iodine, as we know that. So this accumulating ability may be lost if there is a dedifferentiation, if the tumor, for example, if it were to be a papillary and then it undergone some dedifferentiation to some other variety, it loses the ability to concentrate the iodine, number one. And when we take this fluorodeoxyglucose PET CT scan, fluorodeoxyglucose PET CT scan, it has emerged as an investigation of choice with negative radioactive iodide scan. So once the patient comes to you, so what you have to keep it in your mind is about these things. Few things which you have to keep it in your mind is, so thyroidectomy done. Thyroidectomy is done. You have to follow up with thyroglobulin, serum thyroglobulin. So once what happens, and you also go for radioactive iodine scan. Okay, and in this particular situation wherein radioactive iodine scan is negative and thyroglobulin is raised, what is that you are going to do? You have to go for PET CT scan. Okay, PET CT. So PET CT is the one which is helpful when there is thyroglobulin is raising. You have got the doubt of some thyroid tissue somewhere in the body. Some thyroid tissue somewhere in the body is there, therefore thyroglobulin is raising. But because of the dedifferentiation, radioactive iodine is not uptaken. So in that situation, what will you do? PET scan you are going to do. Just got the point. I think this is a very important point which everybody should know. So thyroidectomy done, thyroglobulin is increasing, but radioactive iodine uptake is not being done, negative. In that situation, what is the investigation of choice? To go for PET CT scan. Kindly repeat, it will be very important. A good anatomical imaging, however, retain an important role, since small volume recurrence may not be demonstrated by FDG PET. So very small lesions may not be detected by FDG PET. Okay. In that situation, anatomical imaging like ultrasound etc. can be helpful. So these are not like one modality helping in diagnosing everything. All modalities combined together, we can get into an idea.
Medullary cancer. Medullary cancer tumors are derived from parafollicular cells or C cells, which are thought to be derived from neural growths, and their metastasis may calcify. They may invade locally and may spread tissues. Many tumors express calcitonin. These tumors themselves solve to regional lymph nodes. Metastatic spread occur to lungs, bone, and liver. Some cases are associated with multiple endocrine neoplasms types 2A and 2B. Medullary carcinoma does not concentrate radioiodine, and follow-up is by serial serum calcitonin and carcinoembryonic antigen measurements. Anatomical imaging is performed if recurrent disease is suspected. These neoplasms may be gallium or thallium iodide. Meta-iodobenzyl guanide may be useful.
So in medullary thyroid cancer, which is the third type of cancer which we are going to discuss, it is from the parafollicular or C cells, which is thought to be derived from neural crest cells, and their metastasis may calcify. So may be related to calcification. They may invade locally and may spread to other tissues. So what do they express? They express something called as calcitonin, as we all know this. They can go to regional lymph nodes, especially level 6, as we know that. So central compartment neck dissection will be doing that in that. And metastatic lymph node, metastatic spread may go to lung, liver and bone, that is LLB, as we know. This is also known fact. They may be associated with multiple endocrine neoplasia type 2A and type 2B, as we know here. And then medullary carcinoma does not concentrate radioactive iodine. So radioactive iodine is not effective in medullary carcinoma, number one. And serum calcitonin is what we are going to do, and carcinoembryogenic antigen. Calcitonin, serum calcitonin and carcinoembryogenic antigen, these both are going to help us. So as we know that anatomical imaging is helpful for recurrent disease, we already discussed about this. These neoplasms are gallium scan and thallium scan EBIT, and MIBG may also be useful, that is meta-iodobenzyl guanidine is also useful for this medullary cancer.
More recently, FDG PET has been shown to be useful in demonstration of recurrent or metastatic disease with a sensitivity of 70 to 76%. It has been demonstrated to have a superior sensitivity and specificity compared to indium-111 penetrotide pentavalent technetium 99M. dimercaprasuccinic acid, technetium 99 sestimate scan, CT and MRI. Ultrasound has been shown to be superior to other imaging modalities in the detection of primary lesions within thyroid in gene carriers of men type 2A and familial medullary thyroid cancer. Whole body PET scan is being used to stage metastatic disease.
So once again, the utility of FDG PET has come here. It is helpful for number 1 recurrent disease or number 2 metastatic disease, and has got a reasonably good sensitivity. So FDG PET can be useful for recurrent and metastatic disease, and it is having superior sensitivity and specificity. So what are the scans that are being done for medullary carcinoma previously is indium 111, indium 111 pancreatide SMS scan, and second one is pentavalent technetium 99 dimercaprasuccinic acid. Is very important entrance bit. Okay, DMSS scan. So pancreatide scan, and number 3 is technetium 99 sestamib scan. Number 4 is CT scan, and number 5 is MRI. These are all helpful for medullary carcinoma of thyroid previously, but now it is a FDG PET that is very much helpful. Also, we know ultrasound is superior to other imaging modalities in the detection of primary lesions, especially in MEN2A carriers, gene carriers, and FMTC, that is familial medullary thyroid carcinoma. We go for ultrasound, serial ultrasound we will be doing in that, so that we will be able to diagnose the disease very easily. And whole body PET CT scan is for the staging of the metastatic disease. So you could find here the liver metastasis according to the picture from medullary thyroid cancer. Nothing much to explain in this. So these are the vertebrae, and this is the right side, which is showing the liver metastasis, calcified liver metastasis in medullary carcinoma of thyroid.
Hurthle cell tumor. These uncommon tumors arise from follicular epithelium. There are no distinguishing imaging features. Both nodal and heterogeneous spread occurs. It generally has lower iodine avidity than other differentiated thyroid neoplasms. 18F FDG PET has been shown to have excellent diagnostic accuracy in Hurthle cell thyroid cancer patients, improving on CT and radioiodine scintigraphy. Intensive 18F FDG is said to be associated with the worst prognosis.
As you know, Hurthle cell tumor is one more variant of this thyroid cancer. They arise from the follicular epithelium. Hurthle cell tumors, they arise from the follicular epithelium. No specific imaging features, but it has got both nodal and hematogenous spread. So nodal for papillary and hematogenous for follicular. So papillary plus follicular features are present in this Hurthle cell tumor, that you have to remember as a point. And iodine avidity is also low, very less iodine avidity than other differentiators. So it will not take up iodine also much. But FDG PET is very much helpful. Once again, PET scan is very much helpful for Hurthle cell tumors. They have got diagnostic accuracy in the Hurthle cell tumors, especially improving on CT and radioiodine scintigraphy. So this FDG PET enhances our diagnosis in this Hurthle cell cancers. If the intensity of this FDG PET is there, it is said to be having a bad prognosis. So intense scan in FDG PET is a bad prognostic indicator in Hurthle cell tumors.
Anaplastic carcinoma. This is aggressive and rapidly fatal tumor usually present in elderly women. They often occur in people with long-standing goiter. They grow rapidly and compress and invade the airways and esophagus. The primary tumor is usually hyperreflective on ultrasound, but often continues punctuate calcification and areas of necrosis. Lymph node involvement is common also with nodal necrosis.
As we know that anaplastic carcinoma is the worst carcinoma anyone can get. It is an aggressive and rapidly fatal patient lives for rarely more than 6 months. So especially in women, elderly women. They often occur in people with long-standing goiters. So suddenly there is a rapid growth and compression of the airways and esophagus, difficulty dysphagia and difficulty in taking the air. That is dyspnea and dysphagia will be there. They are hyporeflective on ultrasound, but often contains punctate calcification and areas of necrosis. So there can be areas of necrosis and calcification. More amount of calcium is there. Lymph node involvement is also common with nodal necrosis. Nodal necrosis is there, lymph node involvement is also there in this. According to this picture, this CT scan demonstrates extensive low density tumor due to necrotic anaplastic thyroid cancer replacing the thyroid. As you could see here, so this is a low density tissue which is there over here. And then involving the left lung apex and supraclavicular fossa. You could see the lung apex and supraclavicular fossa are also involved in this particular anaplastic carcinoma.
Thyroid lymphoma. This